Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Honey Dawn Nails. Watch me work. Today we're going to be doing another airbrush design, Airbrush Winter Pink. Here are the nails already in the box, cleaned and ready to go. First of all, you want to make sure that your airbrush gun is clean. Today we're going to be working with apple barrel acrylic paints. And like I said before, you definitely want to water down the paint. So I did put some water inside this paint before putting it into my airbrush gun. You want to make sure your airbrush gun is clean. So later on in this demo, I'll be showing you how to make sure your airbrush is clean, how to clean your airbrush out in between paint colors. So I'm going to be using 3 different paint colors today. I'm going to be using a blue, as you see. I'm also going to be using a black. I'm going to be using a white. And I'm going to top it all off with a Diva Pink. So right now I am just basically pointing my airbrush down to the bottom base of the nail. I just want to do like an ombre, so you want to start midway and then airbrush down. Now most people do it in the opposite direction, but there's no way that you can control your paint flow if you direct the airbrush gun up too high. So I start exactly where I want the paintbrush to end, and then I brush it all the way down to the tips. Now if you have a better control of your airbrush gun, you could do it any way that you would like to do it. This is just the way that I do it. I've been airbrushing for a very long time, since back in the 90s. And so when I first started airbrushing, I really did not have a great control over my airbrush gun. But as you can see, I'm just pulling back on the gun just a little bit to get just enough paint, to cover up the tips of this ombre. So what I like to do is I like to go from light to dark and then from light to dark again, so we can get a little bit of fade out. So in this particular demo, I'm going to be showing you how to get a double line, double fade out. So here you see I am using the Apple Barrel Cool Blue. I just need just a little bit more in it so I can finish with the remainder of nails that I have. So in this set, I'm making a set of 10. Sometimes I make a set of 20 or 30 nails at a time. It all depends on what my customer would like. So here I'm just testing out the paint to make sure that I didn't dilute it too much and it's not too watery. Alright, so now I'm on to the second set. And as you can see, I am starting exactly where I want the airbrush paint to start, and then I am airbrushing it straight down. I'm also using the airbrush gun to dry my paint at the same time. Now this is a technique that I'll be showing in future videos, but just for this video, being that I'm making these nails for myself for the holidays, I just wanted to show you exactly how I came up with my own sets. So later on in the video, I'm going to show you how I come up with my abstract art designs, because I will be doing some freehand painting on these nails, some dottage work on these nails, and also the Star of David. When I was airbrushing back in the 90s, I would always use the Star of David as my signature. So if anybody got their nails airbrushed by me, they knew it was me, because I would put the Star of David on the nail somewhere. So in this particular set, I'm going to be hand painting the Star of David on. I'm going to be hand painting on my abstract designs and my dottage. And I'm going to be using gel paint to do that. Alright, so now we're going to go on to our black paint, but right now I need to clean out my airbrush gun, so I'm going to show you how I do that. I have some water in a squeeze bottle. Just going to squeeze some of that inside the airbrush gun, pull back on the lever a couple of times, and I do this until it sprays out clear. So I get me a white paper towel, and I just spray it until it sprays out clear. If it's not spraying out clear, then I know that I need to put more water in it. And just repeat that. So as you can see, now it's spraying out clear, but you definitely want to make sure that when you're pulling back on the gun that you're doing it in an easy way. You don't want to over manipulate the trigger. I also use Q-tips sometimes to clean out the excess. And here you see that I am taking out the back of it. I'm moving my needle back and forth gently just to make sure that it's not stuck, because sometimes when you use acrylic paints, you will get it like some type of gunk in the inside of it, because this paint is really not supposed to be used inside the airbrush. But sometimes if you can't get certain colors, it's okay to use acrylic paint as long as you water it down and dilute it. That's just my opinion. Okay, it's not set in stone, but that's just my opinion, how I work best. Okay, so now I'm going to use a little bit of black on the tip, because that's going to bring out the other things that I'm going to do on top of the nail. After this, of course, like I said, you go from light to dark, and then from dark to light. So I'm going to use black at the very tips of these nails, just at the very tip. So I'm going to show you how I do that. It's all in the angle, so you just want to decide on how you want it to be. Do not have the airbrush gun too close to your product, or else you'll get splatterback, and trust me, that does not look professional. I've done that way too many times. So when you're dealing with black, you don't need that much. You need to decide exactly where you want your black to be laid down at, and just go over it more than once. Because this is acrylic paint, it does take a little longer to dry. So I would suggest that you get matte acrylic paint, not glossy. Matte is better. That way you can tell when the paint is completely dry. Glossy is kind of hard to tell. You would have to touch it in order to tell, and sometimes when you touch it, you leave your fingerprint. Again, that does not look professional. Okay, so as you can see here, I'm just doing the basic tip of the nail, and it looks awesome. You can just leave the nails just like this if you want to. Put a base coat on top of it, because you definitely don't want it to smear and run into each other. So here you can see the difference between the two. So now I have like a stencil. You want to take your stencil and carefully lay it down once the paint is completely dry. Now I personally would not suggest that you just go on to the next color until you have put on some type of base coat to seal it, because if you make a mistake, you can wipe that off without wiping off your whole product. But being that I have been doing nails for 30 years, I feel confident enough, I've been doing this for a while, that I don't have to do that. So you definitely want to be able to hold your client's nail. You definitely do not want them moving around, because you will get a double exposure, unless that's what you're looking for. Now, here I'm going to show you how I did a double line. So as you can see, I have the line at the bottom is the darkest, and the line at the top is going to be a little bit lighter. So now you can see what I mean by a double line. The black at the bottom gives it a little more contrast. Now you don't have to do it that way. Like I said, you could have just left it with blue or had another brighter color at the bottom. But it's always best to go from dark to light or light to dark, and vice versa. Otherwise, you're going to get it blending together. Now here I'm using this mesh, and this mesh is just a basic mesh that I got. Let me see, I think it was like potatoes or onions or something like that came in this mesh. And I cut a piece of it off, and I said, you know what, I could use this for an airbrush. Alright, so now we have the pink. So what I'm doing is I'm just highlighting it with the pink. Put a little bit of Diva Pink in there, and I'm just going to lightly tap it just a little bit to give it like a little more accent to it. So that's what I mean by going from dark to light to light to dark. Now you can reverse it and get a totally different effect. It's all in your creativity. So let me suggest that you do it the way that's best for you. Alright, so here I'm going to do some blobs, and as you can see, I'm just freestyling it. I'm just doing what's best for me. I like it when my clients let me do the vision that's in my head, because 9 times out of 10 when they tell me something, it's not going to come out the way they want it to unless they can show me a photo. And I really don't like to copy other people's work, like I was talking to you about in the last video. Definitely want to be original when it comes down to your designs. Yes, I cut my nails off. I cut my nails off because they were getting in the way, and I'm getting ready to redo my nails anyway. So in the middle of this demonstration, I decided to cut my nails off. They were holding me up. So now I can get in the corners a little better. So when you're doing your blobs, do them any way that you want to. I was trying to do like water evaporation. So that's what I was trying to come up with. Of course, you know, that's just my interpretation of it. And once you put that in the lamp and cure that for 30 seconds, or just do a hot cure, it was like 5 seconds, 7 seconds, 10 seconds. Then you can go on and put your dots. So I'm going to show you how to put my dots. I use a double dotted tool. One end is much thicker than the other end, which will give you 2 different types of dotages. But for this Christmas, let's go with some big ones. And as you can see, the more that you dot, the smaller the dots get. So if you're starting with a very small dotting tool, it's going to be so tiny you won't even be able to see it. But some people use those dotting tools to draw with and to make leopard print. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how I do my Star of David. Let's see. I'm going to put it right here on the corner, right at the tip. You just want to have your original line to be longer than the rest. And then the line that you end with should be longer than the rest. You can make a Star of David any way you want to. This is just the way I make mine. It always makes a difference if you have a steady hand. I would suggest that if you do not know how to make your stars, you practice on a piece of paper first. You draw it out first. A lot of my students like to draw out their lines, circles, and squares first, and then they put it on the nail. So you want to just take your time with it. You definitely don't want to rush this process. Here you see I have airbrushed all the nails. They're looking absolutely 100% gorgeous. Of course, I have cured and dried my first nail before I go on to the remainder. Because you can flash cure it just, I would say 5 to 7 minutes, even 10 minutes, just to get it set. Because you can always go back later and finish curing it once you get all 5 or 10 done. So for my initial color, I decided to go with a shimmery grayish blue. I thought it would look really, really good. Airbrushed with the blue, the white, the black, and the Diva pink for my highlight. And as you can see, the finished picture. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. I know that I did. I'm going to just finish up a little dottage along the way. Please like, subscribe, and comment. If you would like to see more videos like this, please let me know. We will be having a how to make your own acrylic powders and pigment paints in December next month. I hope that you will not miss it. And this is Honey Doll Nails. Thank you for watching.